Oh man, it feels good to be back. Another episode of the Inner Circle podcast once again. We squatted up tonight. XO18 was released today. We got a chance to check out what Microsoft was presenting. Last week's episode, I tried to talk about the hashtag no white glove movement. I'm not sure if the show really turned out. What I mean by no white glove is it cringeworthy. Was it cringy? Because when Major Nelson, shout out to Major Nelson, even though I'm about to go ham. When Major Nelson came out with those white gloves during Inside Xbox and started showing off the Xbox bundles and all that stuff like that, or the color of the consoles, that was cringy, in my opinion. And I gotta say, man, at the end of that conference was the most cringiest thing I have ever seen in my life. So we will definitely touch on that and see if that was a white glove movement, in my opinion, when it comes to the show. We got a great panel tonight, great round of guests, plus the regular Trinity. And I got a lot of thoughts on my mind. Before we get started, though, I always like to open up with what guys have been playing on Xbox, because everybody always talks about Xbox has no games, and I know that is a lie. So let's start with our guest. Post up. What you been playing on Xbox lately?
What's good? Thanks for having me. What I've been playing Red Dead Redemption, and also I was playing the beta to Black Desert. I'm still going through the tools and things like that, but so far so good.
Right. Will, what you been playing?
Well, dude, actually, I've been playing the Black Desert beta when it won't kick me, and I did the Fallout 76 beta. That's my jam right there.
Okay.
I hate to admit it, but I've been kind of going back old school. I did some Fallout 3, and believe it or not, 7 Days to Die has been kind of taking my heap right now.
Gotcha. What about you, B?
I've mostly just been playing Red Dead, man. I'm downloading the beta to Black Desert as we speak. I thought I had it downloaded earlier in the week, but I guess it didn't download. So gonna check that out tonight, and been playing a little Gears, man. I've been on Gears for a little bit, so that's pretty much it, man.
Gotcha. Sam?
Yeah, so for me, what I've been playing is just going ham in Red Dead. I just finished that yesterday. I actually finished the story, got the 100% there, wrapped up all the side quests I was doing. I'm still composing my thoughts, and I don't want to say too much because I've got a full review and tweet storm coming tomorrow or a couple of days after that, somewhere in there. But all I can say is you need to play this game. If you're not playing this game, you need to go play it. It is generation defining in every way, shape, and form. It's fantastic.
I actually surprisingly took a break from Red Dead and been playing Black Desert a lot. And I haven't had any issues with it. I haven't been kicked from the game. You know, the crazy thing about it is that I expected this game to really be a disaster to start, because it was like the first MMO and with those type of graphics on a console. And I gotta say, I'm really impressed with what they've done so far with the game. There's little things that I feel like needs to be cleaned up. The interface is real cluttered. I hate the menu system as far as trying to get to things, open up world maps and stuff. They did give you a little macro, like up on the cross pad and down or left, right with the analog stick. But overall, man, I just feel like the gameplay is nice. I'm using a Ranger right now, so the gameplay has been real smooth. I haven't had any issues with lagging out of the getting kicked from the game or any lag or anything like that. Like when I first played Ark, it was like everything was rendering, bro. You couldn't go to a base without that game rendering. It was pretty bad. So this one, considering the graphic fidelity of it, it hasn't had any of those issues, and it's still a ton of people on these servers. They pumped out so many servers in such a short amount of time, and I just haven't had any issues. It's been great. So definitely excited for that to finally come to the platform and release fully, because I'll definitely be on that. And then I'll be back on Red Dead soon. And I downloaded that Thief game today, Thief of Thieves, which looks real interesting. We're going to touch on that on today's show as well. So listen, let's get the show started. A lot to discuss. One thing, everybody for stopping out and hanging out with us tonight. If you love the show, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. And let's get this party started. Here we go. Welcome to the Inner Circle Podcast, the premier podcast for Xbox. I'm your host, KLXKL, with B Money 101.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Direwolf 484.
Hey, everybody. Good to be back.
Welcome our guest, Post Up BB.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. Let's have a great show.
And shout out to my man, Will. What's going on?
What's going on, everybody? How's it going?
And we are your Inner Circle. So Xbox went ahead and did the XO18 event today, man. And I gotta say, when it first started, I was like real antsy. I don't know why I was antsy, because I really was expecting something that like me, B, and Sam, we spoke about for a while, was what Microsoft needed, was some type of like roadmap. I felt like they gave us a roadmap at E3. I wanted another roadmap like over the next 6 months. Sam brought that up in particular, when he said, is what we need like the next 3 to 4 months to see what's coming out for Xbox. And I don't know if I got that. What I did get was a little bit of surprise, a little bit of cringe, a little bit of bore, like literally a smorgasbord of all types of things. And at the end, what I came to the conclusion was this show didn't need to be 2 hours. That was my basic conclusion to the XO18 event. So the show started off right. You had the Game Pass guys up there. They went ahead. They want to talk about 16 games launching on Xbox Game Pass over the next couple of months or the course of the year. And at first, I really wasn't too impressed. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't impressed because of the simple fact that there was games up there that I sort of already knew was going to be up there, like Ori and the Blind Forest, Definitive Edition, which is an excellent game. If you haven't played it, definitely check it out. But even with that going up there, I'm like, okay. And the reason why I felt that way was because prior to that, they were hyping this up so much. Like Game Pass Twitter feed was hyping the hell out of this. I'm expecting like some crazy, big, major, massive news for Game Pass. And in the end, I didn't get a womp womp feeling, but it definitely sort of was like a bit of a letdown. It wasn't as exciting as I thought it was going to be. So I just want to run down the games that they announced very quickly. Sure. So PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, which if you don't have that game by now at this point, it's like, okay, PUBG is on Game Pass. I kind of feel like that's a move to try to get more people on the game. What do you guys think?
It just makes sense, in my opinion. Like, It's been out for basically a year now, or a year and just less than a month. So it makes sense if anyone on Xbox hasn't bought into it yet, hasn't been persuaded by their friends' hype or whatever. Okay, it's on Game Pass. You're probably already subscribed to Game Pass. Why not jump in on it?
Right.
It's neither shocking and world altering, but neither is it a dumb, boring move. It's good. It makes sense. Sure.
It's solid. I think it increases the player base if the game was dying on Xbox, or if it was losing steam over time. It definitely will be revamped, especially with people paying $1 now for Game Pass once again. Void Bastards. Now I haven't seen. I saw the game a little bit. It's made by some pretty awesome people. The guys that was it, the directors of BioShock, I believe it was.
He was a co-director from BioShock.
The musical director, you just said?
No, he was one of the co-directors.
Like, what?
I was about to say.
I'll be like, what? What is happening here? No, Void Bastards. When I first watched it, I was like, I wasn't impressed. But the more I watched it, I was like, okay, that's cool. It's different. Shooter strategy type genre, something I've never heard before. And it's different. It definitely is different. I think it's the right game for Game Pass because it's experimental. That's how I look at it. And it has like that cartoony vibe, so it kind of fits the mold of what you expect from Game Pass at this point. Hellblade hitting Game Pass. How big of a deal is that?
That's big. That's awesome. I mean, you should be playing Hellblade. That is one of those games where if you haven't played it, you need to play it. You no longer have the excuse not to. It's in Game Pass. It's not a long game. Go do it. Go play it.
You're right.
I think it's a good deal for people who hasn't really brought into Game Pass yet. And to kind of fall back on what you said in terms of PUBG, I think that is to kind of take steam away from the PlayStation 4 release that is rumored to hit in December. To make it more enticing to, get on Xbox, being that, Game Pass is only $1 or $10 a month. You're pretty much getting the game for a little bit less than what you'll have to pay for the full version on the PlayStation 4. But I think a lot of these moves is for people who haven't brought into the servers yet. And I think a lot of people is on the fence because they're waiting for them big AAA titles to come in and kind of fill up with Game Pass. And I think this was a step forward in them getting that done.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely was the right move. And I think it does right by Ninja Theory. First party studio now. It wasn't one of the games that sold a ton. Honestly, it wasn't something that knocked it out the park, but it's got every award imaginable. You know what I'm saying? Like graphics, sound, game, like it's got a lot of awesome awards. And it, like I said, it didn't sell out the roof. It wasn't something that did like 5 million, 7 million. So it hitting Game Pass makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, give it legs.
Yeah. All right. So we got Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition. They done gave that game away and did all types of things with that game by now. So if you haven't played it, I don't really look at that as a big deal. Ori and the Will of the Wisp hitting, I don't see that as a big deal either. But I know Sam did talk about them having, I think, to renegotiate the deal last week because there was some type of issue. Even though they own the IP, there was some type of development issue with Moon Studios.
Right. So the nutshell, the TLDR version is people might not believe this is a big deal, but it actually is a big deal because that contract was completely done on that game well before the Microsoft Studios going to Game Pass on day one announcement was made, before that was a thing. So they had to completely renegotiate the game and how everything was going to work for that. So I'm really glad they did that. I was hoping we get a release date. I'm a little disappointed we didn't get a release date, but I'm glad it's coming to Game Pass.
Yeah, I hope it releases in spring, honestly, because they need something around that time with Crackdown. Because right now, let's not jump into that. I don't want to jump into that just yet, but I want to talk about next year's lineup based on what we know so far. Sometime during the show. Thief of Thieves Season 1. Now, that was pretty cool because that was announced to release today. I downloaded it. I checked out the preview. It looks interesting. Is that a cool game that people should be aware of, or should they keep their eye on that, or is it something they should pass on?
I literally know nothing about it, so I have to take a step back on that one.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm with him on that one too. I know nothing about it.
Which game is that?
Thief of Thieves. Well, basically, based on what I've read, it's basically a game where you play a thief along with a group of people, and you have to figure out ways and strategies to rob a bank, along with other, sort of manipulating people, talking to people, and bribing people in ways to try to rob banks and do other things. That makes it a pretty cool, interesting game. The biggest thing about it is that it's based on seasons. And it already has season 1, so that means you could expect another season to come out.
That was my first time hearing of that game when they announced it, so I'll probably have to, download it and play around with it before I can give anything on it.
Okay, so doing a quick bit of research, it looks like it's based on the Thief of Thieves comic, which was done by Robert Kirkman, who people would probably know more from The Walking Dead. So based on that alone, I'd say it's worth looking at. It's got good reviews on Steam. It's got very positive reviews there. So, okay. Sure, thumbs up.
I haven't seen much on the game yet. What I will say is that I hope that it's not a part of because it looks like a Telltale game when you look at it, but I think you actually control the people, honestly. And I hope it's not a point and click game. So I downloaded it. I haven't played it yet, but I'll definitely check it out when I get a chance to. Next up, they had Kingdoms 2 Crowns. Now, Kingdom 2 Crowns, Kingdoms, I think the first game was called Kingdoms. I think it was called. It was like Kingdoms.
Game or something.
Yeah, it's like a little flash game. It's cool. You go back and forth. You sort of, collect people. They build up a castle, and then every so often, some creatures come through and they try to knock down your castle, and you have to defend against the castle. It's a 2D side-scrolling type game. And it plays out in generations. So as one king dies or one person dies, your son takes up or daughter takes up the mantle and continues that. And I thought it was interesting. It's cool. Obviously, it must have been successful because they got a part 2. Like, I mean, if you got a part 2, you must be doing something right. You got After Charge, which was interesting, but nothing major in my opinion. Supermarket Shriek might have been the most cringy thing that I've seen that they announced on there. Yeah. Honestly, B, what you thought about that?
I was not a fan, to be totally honest. Like, I don't understand. Some of, this goes back to some of the curation stuff that I was talking about like earlier in the year. All these games aren't great games, and to be honest, like you can't really speak on it until you play it, but just by the way that it looked, it's not even something I would even possibly even give it a try, to be honest.
It's funny because when I looked at that game, I immediately thought of old Xbox 360, like really indie games, not like summer of arcade games, but actual indie games, like
like the ones that people made.
Yeah, like that's what it looked like, right? Like, yep. I was like, what is that? A deer? It was like a goat. I was like, a brown goat? It was like, like, what is happening with this game? Why is a kid and a goat in a shopping cart? What is happening in this game? This is like an 80-point Microsoft type game. Like, I don't know what they was thinking, and they really put it up there like it was something to be impressed about. I was taken back. Now, Mutant Year Zero.
That's good. That's a big deal.
That's a big deal. Yeah, absolutely. When I saw Mutant Year Zero, I was ecstatic. I was like, "Oh my god, Mutant Year Zero is going to be on here at launch!" And some of the people some of the listeners during my reaction show earlier in the day, they were like, "Yeah, man, like nothing to be impressed about." But I don't think people know what Mutant Year Zero is, so that was big. Pathologic 2. I didn't see Pathologic 2. Did anybody play Pathologic 1?
No, sorry.
No. Never heard of it.
Secret Neighbor was interesting. Now, if you haven't played Hello Neighbor, it's a little creepy peeking Tom type game as you try to see what's going on at your neighbor's house, and it's all creepy, and the guy's staring at you and chasing you. And this one, what's cool about it is it seems like it's actually like 4-player co-op. And you're in the dude's house or you're in your neighbor's house and you're trying to figure out what this guy's hiding. I thought that was really cool and creepy at the same time. That's something I could see myself playing with a few of the fellas, checking that game out. The Good Life. Now, I was actually surprised that The Good Life was on it. That's a Swery game, The Good Life. And if you guys don't know who Swery is the same dude who made D4 and what is the game on GameCube? B, you remember that game? It's like that horror RPG. I think it was. Oh my god, what's the name of that game? Everybody talks about this game all the time. I can't remember the name of the game. But yeah, he made D4. Everybody liked D4, but nobody wanted to play it because it was a part of the Connect, the Connect lineage. And
but the thing is like you could play that game without Connect, and it was great.
Yeah, it was great, but nobody gave it a chance, and so we never got another episode from it. It sort of died, and that's disappointing. But The Good Life is on, so that's cool. Ages of Mayhem. Ages of Mayhem flopped so hard when it released. I remember when that game came out, and that's one of the reasons why I was so down on Crackdown, because Crackdown and Ages of Mayhem initially reminded me of each other, but I got a lot to say about Crackdown after today's reveal. We'll talk about that. Mxgp 3, which is a dirt bike racing game. If you're into dirt bikes, that's cool. And Thomas Was Alone, which I think is on the Xbox now. And I'm just like, squares and shapes, I don't get it. I don't understand what the premise of this game is. I'm sure there's some story to it, but I'm not impressed. So out of all of that, I gotta say the only thing that really impressed me was Hellblade, Thief for Thieves, because it looked pretty cool. Mutant Year Zero, Secret Neighbor, and that's it. Oh, obviously, and Ori Will of the Wisp, of course, but I really don't count that because that was like something that was already coming. So, Game Pass hyped up this whole event. Do you guys think it was overhyped? Like at least the Game Pass section of what they were going to present when it came to 16 new games coming to Game Pass or whatever the number was. Was it overhyped?
Most definitely.
Overhyped. I was duped. After the Will of the Wisp, it kind of went downhill in terms of the other games that they announced for me. And in the way they man kind of geeked it up, with the progress bar and
Right?
secret announcement. When you use terms like secret announcement, my expectation is for some AAA games that we probably wouldn't expect to launch, day and date, Division 2 or something like that. But PUBG, okay. I own a copy of that. Hellblade, I own a copy of that. I got Ori. The second copy was already announced for Game Pass. And then after that, it's just like, nah.
Yeah.
What you doing? Nah. So I was disappointed.
Yeah,
I would say it was definitely overhyped, or at least slightly overhyped. I mean, I think a lot of people were expecting to see, like Below in there, or Ashen, or some other high profile idea of the Xbox game that that has been announced at the past 2 E3s, and that just wasn't there. But it did announce the winner of Arcade. Didn't really give much detail, so I'm sure those games might be found in there.
Right. That's the thing. Winner of Arcade, I'm sure there's some good announcements that have been leached off in there. I think not having Ashen and or Below, it was slightly overhyped, but I will say they're getting good variety. Like, they're getting games in their day one now. They're getting games that appeal to a wide range, so only slightly overhyped. And if you are looking to get into the Xbox ecosystem, then it wasn't overhyped because, Hellblade and PUBG being in there, that's a pretty big deal.
Exactly.
So I will say, I'm looking at it, we're looking at it through the goggles of people who have bought a lot of these games. Not from the goggles of people who are looking to buy an Xbox.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you look at it from that perspective, look at it from that perspective, yeah, sure. I mean, I give you that. I mean, I look at the end of the day. Go ahead, Jay.
I must say, I honestly wasn't expecting that much, considering it is the Game Pass. I mean, there's like 200 something games on there, but realistically, you're only going to end up playing maybe 10 or 15 of those games, and the rest of them is pretty much just there for show. I mean,
right.
Yeah, that's just my take on it. It's, out of the 16 games they announced, like you said, there's a whopping 2, maybe 3 that really sparked your interest, and the rest is just kind of like background noise.
My thing is this. I feel like you got all these people that you're trying to impress with this Game Pass thing, right? And a lot of people, you're trying to get either. Listen, the reality of it is you're trying to get a PlayStation gamers. Like, let's call a spade a spade. Let's talk about exactly what they're trying to do. You're trying to get some of these PlayStation gamers to pick up Xboxes. Nobody's talking about let's get this Switch guy to pick up an Xbox, because Switch is always a secondary console. No one goes out and say, I'm saving up my money. Like, if PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo came out at the same time, nobody's like, man, I got all this money. I can't wait for a Switch to come out. That's not what people are doing. People are going to pick up one of the big AAA platforms first and then pick up a Switch second. So the reality of it is you're trying to get these PlayStation gamers, the guys who are on the fence, or the guys who are part of Xbox and left, whatever. You're trying to recapture that audience. And what they presented tonight with the Game Pass situation, from their perspective, based on what they've been playing, I don't see how that was impressive to them. Just overall, just as a gamer, taking myself out of the shoes of an Xbox podcast host, of an Xbox gamer, just taking my shoes out, I'm looking at that thing. And yes, Ori's great. Mutant Year Zero's great. But when I look at that list, I'm sitting up there like, is this what you want me to like? Okay, for $1, sure. You know what I'm saying? But it's got to be $1 every month at that point. But there's other games on there that they didn't focus on, that's on there, like the Wolfenstein series and all the other exclusives like Forza and stuff like that. But just that 16 alone, I don't think it was that impressive, honestly. And for all the hype and the stickies that they put up there on Twitter and all the commercials they put out, man, they definitely overhyped that particular segment of the show.
Yeah.
So listen, so they jumped in, they started talking about third-party games. We saw some PUBG content. We saw Devil May Cry 5, which looked incredible. I think the biggest thing that impressed me about Devil May Cry 5 was like, you know how in fighting games you got the combos, like the practice system. This is the first time I've seen them take something from one of their games, which is like Street Fighter, and put it in an actual single player game where you can practice your combos before you actually play the game or even mid game. And the thing that made it even doper was you can select the enemies that you want to practice the moves on. I was completely impressed with that, and that was completely out of the box for me because I'm thinking from the perspective that if there's an enemy you have a hard time with, not only can you learn the enemy's moves, the timing, their weaknesses, you can practice every single move that you have or you want to experiment with, take that back into the game and wreck, especially if the game is overly difficult or it's hard to hit certain enemies. You could practice all of that and figure these things out before it happens. That was just genius in my opinion.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't know, like from playing the first Devil May Cry, that seemed to be kind of part of the game, though, was just getting your tail handed to you over and over again until you learn the enemy's moves. The little practice mode seems kind of cheap, but I actually really like it too. So I'm torn on that.
Yeah, I think they had to kind of throw something in there too, just because they have the microtransaction thing. So it kind of allows you to get good over time and maybe not feel like you have to go microtransaction. So it kind of balances out a little bit, and maybe the microtransactions won't be so much of the conversation.
And it's probably needed, given the game probably be tough. So you might need.
That's what I'm thinking.
If
right?
you're going in, or if you haven't played the series before, you might need to go in there and get accustomed to the controls and things like that.
I think the coolest thing is because when I was watching the gameplay, he was talking about Nero and he was talking about all these different devil arms. I'm a big Dante fan, and I'm like, man, I want to play with Dante. Like, I don't care about nobody else. But then I start watching Nero with all of these different arms. I'm like, bruh, this is sick. Like, I want to play with Nero. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, but you just can't put on a different arm and then hop into the game. You got to learn what that arm can do. What are the combos for that arm? What are the special abilities for that arm? And if you got the amount of arms, my man was switching through arms. Like, he had open, like he beat a boss in oh my God, what's the name of that game? And it's on top of my God.
Was it when he had the Mega Man arm?
No, well, the Mega Man arm was cool enough. Yeah, it was definitely cool. But it just felt like he had opened up a treasure chest and it was like all of these items that was in there. Like Diablo, like you beat a boss in Diablo and all these different colored items came out and you just pick and select which ones you want. But that's just a part of your arsenal. You could just rotate in which arm you want before it breaks. So that was real interesting what they did, man. I was really impressed with that. I look forward to that game. Absolutely look forward to that game. As they jump forward, they show Crackdown 3. Before I hop into this, does anybody have any thoughts on Crackdown 3?
I do, but I'm in the same boat if I want to see if anyone else has anything they want to say about it first.
Oh man, what the single player looked better than when it was last shown. The thing that got me is when they first showed it. I think they showed it with 4-player co-op, and then you look on Microsoft page, you see 2-player co-op. And then I know when they showed the destruction in the city, it was, you had this big city environment with different buildings, and they moved that to an arena. So the mindset of some people is they consider that to be a downgrade.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think they definitely watered the game down. You know what I mean? Just because they've run into so many problems with the game, and it's changed development hands and things like that. So it's definitely not what it was initially advertised as, and I think they need to kind of get in front of that and start that marketing campaign for Crackdown 3, so people who were thought that they were getting something are definitely have a better understanding of what they're actually getting.
Yeah, because I definitely was looking forward to the 4-player co-op because that was what you was accustomed to with the previous Crackdowns, and they kind of slid that in there without really saying too much about it if you didn't read the fine print. But overall, the arena-based gameplay for me, it looked pretty fun, looked pretty cool. I have to test it out to be 100% sure as far as investing some time into it, but so far so good with it, I guess.
The one thing that I noticed that I really didn't like was the lock on aim.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
think
definitely.
anytime you have a competitive multiplayer, that cannot happen because that doesn't allow there to be a true skills gap.
Mhm.
And I know that they want it to be fun and whatnot, but I'm competitive. So like if I'm getting in there, I want to get busy. And if you have a lock on aim, that doesn't really tell me that you're good or not.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
that's a great point.
Yep.
I will say, in its defense, I will say one thing is it looked graphically a lot better than it's
Yes.
ever looked in the past.
Yes.
I will say that it was a lot sharper, a lot more colorful. So right now I'm in wait and see approach. You know, I wouldn't. It's coming to Game Pass. I wouldn't spend $60 on it, but it is coming to Game Pass. Let's see if they get the marketing hype rolling properly. Let's see what's actually going on with co-op versus Wrecking Zone versus campaign, and what the campaign even looks like, and we'll see where we go from there. I don't even want to say optimistic, but I'm open-minded. I'm very open-minded given what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at as well.
Exactly. I mean, if you remember way back in the day when the first Crackdown came out, they kind of promised the world, and then when it came out, you were like, okay, this is cool, but it's not exactly what you promised. So I'm just gonna do the whole sit and wait thing on it, and not be like you said overly optimistic, but just optimistic enough, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you something. Microsoft messed up. Now, and the reason why I'm saying that is because, Microsoft came out. They talked about first of all, the whole Xbox compute. Whoa, this is a fail on Microsoft's part, honestly, and I'll explain the reasons why. When they showed Just Cause, first of all, when I first watched it, I'm not even a Just Cause fan. But when they showed Just Cause, I was watching the gameplay of Just Cause, and I was like, man, this game looks hella dope. Like, it looks really impressive. All the things that's blowing up, the explosions and everything like that, that was really great. Then they put on Crackdown. And I had nothing against Crackdown's explosions. I thought the explosions was cool and stuff like that. But as you continue to watch that game, that is not something that the that the Xbox compute that they wanted to do, that is not the same thing. And when you go back and you look at what they showed of what they wanted to do and what they're presenting here, I'm telling you right now, that game is not using Xbox compute at all. There's a couple of things that they had to do, obviously, to really make changes to this game. The first thing they did was they definitely improved the graphics, without question. I remember going to E3, playing this game, looking at it, and not being impressed at all. I obviously I got a chance to play it with Ken Love. I was excited to see him, and I got a chance to watch him play. And he had the black hole gun. When you shoot it, it sucks all the cars together, and this big explosion and everything. But the colors were dull. I didn't get that feel when we first initially saw the preview for the game. Everything was so bright and vibrant and neon, and you had the co-op and everybody sort of teaming up to take out this one boss. In the trailer, that really gave me the impression that it was going to be a game where you teamed up and you worked together. So when I got a chance to play it, I'm like, bruh, this is Crackdown 1 in 2017.
Oh,
like,
wow.
what is happening? But obviously, when I come back on the show, I didn't want to crap on the game because I'm like, yo, if you like Crackdown 1, you're gonna like Crackdown 3 because it's basically the same game.
Right.
Right.
And I felt the same way. Cal. It was like Crackdown 1 remastered, basically.
Right.
What I played in 2017. This Crackdown 3 looks to be its own different beast. We'll see what that actually means, but this does look like a completely different game.
Right. So when you look at the graphics of the game, it definitely is a huge improvement graphically. But then there's two things that happens when you watch this game. The first thing was the announcement. When they said that they lowered it from 4 players to 2 players. And when I think about that, I remember Scalebound and how they want Scalebound to be 4-player co-op. And when we watched the preview for Scalebound at Gamescom, we were like, bruh, do you see how laggy this game is? There's no way you could put 4 people into this game. And I felt like that was probably one of the biggest hiccups they had with the game. Trying to play 4-player co-op in this big open world setting with all this destruction and all these explosions probably make this game just crash to a crawl. And it's not something you could probably do on the original Xbox. Maybe you could pull it off on the X. Maybe you could pull it off with cloud compute in the X. But it was just something you wasn't going to be able to pull off on the Xbox unless that game was like, 430p or something. You know what I'm saying? To really pull this off. So, but everybody had, including myself. I'm not going to take myself out of this. Including myself, we were all hype on the whole Xbox compute situation, right? When you watch them do it now in the multiplayer, the world is so much smaller. If you go back, you watch that video, the world was huge in that tech demo. The whole city was blowing up. Everything was falling apart. It looked so impressive. It was like, wow, that's going to be great. I can't wait to get my hands on it. And now when you look at it, it's kind of like they just have like this little arena island surrounded by water or whatever, and like this blue background in the distance, and explosions happen. And when things blow up, they don't blow up like they did in the compute simulation. They blow up in chunks. They blow up like what's that game called? Mars. Yes, they blow up like Red Faction. Everything breaks, but it breaks in large pieces. Like when you go through a wall, it looks like a cartoon character went through a wall. Like it's just like a big chunk of wall just comes through the side of the wall. You jump through the floor breaks, like a whole bar breaks. There's just something about the game that doesn't live up to the hype. But what it does right. They made the right sacrifices and they bit the bullet. And it is embarrassing, in my opinion, that this happened. But they bit the bullet and they changed what they wanted with the game. They still give you all the destruction, but they put it on a smaller scale. They still give you the game, but they give it to you in co-op, and yet the game graphically has improved, and it makes you want to play it. And the one thing I'll say about this game that really impressed me the most was when they were flying around, launching, propelling themselves through the sky. I was like, whoa, that was dope, because it reminded me of like Halo 2 when I used to play Valhalla, and you would get on those like little teleported things. You would just shoot across the map to try to get the Spartan laser. And sometimes you might cross somebody and y'all be fighting each other as soon as you get there. That's how I felt. Like I could see the frenzy of 5 people launching themselves and going through floors and blowing up buildings. And that got me excited. So as much as I want to gripe about the sacrifices that was made to improve the game, I can only tip my hat to Microsoft and say that they've done the game a bigger service, and the improvements outweigh the sacrifices that was made. What is your guys' thoughts on Just Cause 4 being there?
Just Cause 4 looked good, but at the same time, I was seriously burned by Just Cause 3, so I'm in wait and see approach.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty much the same game since the first one, give or take. I mean, you go around blowing stuff up, having fun, just like you do in Grand Theft Auto. It's just a tropical setting. So,
The one thing that I find very interesting about Just Cause is that it's one of those franchises that hasn't even tried to tack on any type of multiplayer. Like if you look at a large portion of the single player games, that were only single player games, before, a lot of them have added some sort of multiplayer element to them. And the way that Just Cause functions, as a Mayhem game, you would think that they would at least put some sort of co-op or some, competitive multiplayer and arena style in that game, and not make it just a single player experience. I think it would definitely reach more people if it has some multiplayer, additions to the game. It looked really good. I think what they've done, changing engines and updating it graphically, like it looks really good. But I think it could definitely use some additions to multiplayer to kind of reach a larger fan base.
Yeah, I'm not really got into the Just Cause games, but when I watched it, I was comparing the physics, and it's crazy. When I was looking at that, being that it's an open world game, just like Crackdown, I was kind of looking at the physics and the destruction in that game and comparing it to what I had seen prior to looking at Crackdown, and it looked amazing. It's kind of like, I was expecting kind of Crackdown to be on that scale. You had cars flying, the tornadoes, stuff blowing up, and things like that. Kind of sort of thing I was expecting with Crackdown, but we'll see. As far as the game itself, I never really got into the series though.
Same. Looks good though. I will say that graphically for everything that they're doing in that game was really impressive. But the thing that blew my mind was when that giant tanker container fell into the water and the damn ship popped out. I was like, what the hell is that, bro? That reminded me of like one of those toys you get for your kids and you put in water and it just expands. Like that's exactly what happened. They dropped that tanker in the water and it just expanded into a giant ship. That was pretty funny. Now here's the thing. I was kind of upset with the Tabata. I think his name is Tabata. What's the guy? No. I'm sorry. Shinji Hashimoto. Excuse me. So
Shinji Hashimoto. Yeah.
Shows up to the Microsoft event, which was dope. Very impressed to see him there, and that was pretty cool in itself. And he made some pretty cool announcements. Talked about Final Fantasy 13, the whole entire trilogy, and being backwards compatible, which is cool. And they're all going to have Xbox One enhancements, Xbox One X enhancements. So that's pretty dope. If you haven't played Final Fantasy 13, you get 13, 13-2, and Lightning Returns. So that's pretty dope. He also talked about the Final Fantasy series finally coming to Xbox. I think we heard about this already, but it's cool to see and hear him talk about Final Fantasy 7, 9, 10, and 12 coming to the Xbox platform. So that was pretty dope, as well as 10 and 10-2, X and X2. And that's pretty dope as well. And I'm excited for 12 because I never played 12. It's like one of the few Final Fantasies I never got a chance to play. And I'm excited about that. And then he talked about Kingdom Hearts, and they had this little trailer, and that was cool. But once again, I feel like disrespected because Microsoft has not gotten this Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 like remake game on their platform yet. And it's just like, if you've never played the game, it's insane, absolutely insane to me that you wouldn't give people the opportunity to play Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 on an Xbox. Maybe it's a Sony thing. Sony owns the publishing rights to it. Maybe that's what it is, like they did with the Final Fantasy thing for such a long time. But for this game to come out first and maybe get 1 or 2 later, what is the point at this point? If there was not an opportunity to talk about 1 and 2 coming to the Xbox platform, it was no better time than then. That would have been a wow moment for me at XO18.
Yeah. So first off, I do want to give credit again on the Final Fantasy 13 trilogy being back compat now and being enhanced. That really is a fantastic thing. I'm actually going to go and pick up all 3 of those games now. GameStop has them for like $5 a piece. Seriously, you can find them dirt cheap. So I'm definitely going to do that. That was great. And just the man himself coming out was a big move of respect. So that was pretty cool. But Cal, I'm with you. The lack of Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 HD is just, I don't know. I wring my hands in the air. I have no idea what's going on there because it's just weird. It's just plain weird. If people grew up on the PlayStation games and they played 1 and 2 back in the day and they remember everything, then that's fine. But you cannot expect people to jump into Kingdom Hearts 3 and understand what the heck is going on.
Right.
You really can't.
Right.
So I don't know. No other game couldn't have Winnie the Pooh talking about the 100-acre wood in one sense, and then the next sense you've got the Heartless talking about how they're going to forge the ultimate key. It's like, okay, slow down. Anyone new to this is going to be lost.
That's what I'm saying. You playing the game, and all of a sudden Mickey shows up in ninja mode with an all-black outfit. You like, whoa, what's happening here? Why is Mickey out here wilding out, cutting people to shreds? Like, you got to know what's going on in this game. And it's just weird that they would give you 3 before they even allow you to play 1 and 2. I just feel like that is a huge L for the Xbox gamers out there who plan to pick up Kingdom Hearts. Now, don't get me wrong. We all grew up on PS2. We all played those games through those generations, but it's been on the PS3. You've had them on DSs. You've had them on PS4 with the 1.2 and 2.8 or whatever weird number they want to put on these things. Yet it has not hit the Xbox platform at all. And a brand new game is coming. And that to me is just weird.
Yeah, that's what I was hearing as well. That's immediately after in terms of the Kingdom Hearts data. It's like if you haven't played 1 and 2 and you go into 3, you won't know what's going on. And in terms of the Final Fantasy series, what will really be dope is the Final Fantasy 7, the 9, the 10, and 10-2. If those, I know they coming next year, but if they can have some type of enhancements from if they can.
That would be dope.
Even with the back and back, and have some type of enhancements on them. That'd be fire.
I mean, enhancements alone would be nice. Like, you know, it's not going to do it's not going to do much justice. But when I look at a game like Knights of the Old Republic, it's night and day. When you look at the enhancements from the X and compared to what it used to look like on the OG Xbox, if they were able to somehow allow enhancements, let the console do enhancements for those games in their state, that would be pretty cool, honestly. But yeah, man, I don't know, man. Do you guys think it's important that Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 be on the Xbox for guys to play Kingdom Hearts 3?
Well,
I think it's a requirement.
Yeah. I was about to say, I'm actually kind of curious though, with like just the years of experience I have just being a gamer and like in retail working with GameStop. If they're not going to release some kind of a special edition that will include 1 and 2, you know, as like a digital thing with 3 at some point, they're just holding back that announcement. So if Sony doesn't have the exclusive rights to it or whatever, I'm kind of looking for that to be one of the purchase options when Kingdom Hearts comes out.
I mean, look what they did with Mass Effect, and when it went over to PlayStation, they allowed them, you know, to get after they renegotiated that deal with Microsoft, they allowed Mass Effect 1 and 2 to come over before you know, they came. So at least they got a chance to, you know, get acclimated to the story of the first 2 games before moving on to the third.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's just bad business by Square Enix. I mean, Square Enix is going through a lot of stuff right now. And it would only make sense that if you're putting this much time and money into Kingdom Hearts 3, that you want to give it the best opportunity to sell. And I think when you haven't played the previous series, you know, I mean, if you are, you know, 15, 16 years old and you see this game and you haven't played the other 2 games and you own an Xbox, why would you go out and play the third game?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think it's imperative that Square Enix figures out a way to get you know, all the previous games on Xbox so people can experience the series in its entirety. Otherwise, I mean, you're just doing yourself a disservice. I mean, you have excluded yourself from so many gamers who have never had any experience with the franchise at all because they'll just, you know, they'll let it sit on the shelf. There's no reason for them to jump in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree. So let's talk about some of the exclusives that came out this year. Both of those games are getting DLC updates soon enough. November 16th, State of Decay 2 is getting Zed Hunter, and that's released for free. If you haven't played Undead Labs' new title, State of Decay 2, make sure you go ahead and download that and get a chance to play it on Game Pass. I have not played it yet. I did download it. I'm hearing good things about the game, even though the reviews on it aren't what it should be or where it's supposed to be at. But you know, the more I look at it, the more I watch the game, it looks real interesting. It makes me want to hop in and play. I just truly wish it had real co-op. I just don't feel like the co-op is real. I don't know how to explain it more than that. To me, it's not real co-op. It's kind of like help co-op. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah, exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's like that's not fun. I don't want to help you for 16 hours to go back to my game. I'm still on the first level, like the first area. Like, what the heck? Like, what? Who thought of that? Like, I'll never
do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
You get to like bring over some equipment and stuff that you get from the other player's game to help you in your game, like resources and stuff. But yeah, it's ultimately just a, hey, come over here, help me do this, and then you bugger off, and I'll go do my own thing again. So.
Yeah, it's the worst type of co-op. It truly is the worst type of co-op. What game did I play that was like that? Fable 2. Fable 2 was like that, where
and 3.
Here, the crazy thing about Fable 2 is you didn't even come over. I think and that's the same thing. You don't even come over with your own character in Fable 2. You came over as some bum with some crazy clothes on that you didn't even have in your own game. You only had your powers and your abilities and whatever loot and money you got from this game, you bring back to yours. But just imagine helping somebody for 50 hours or 45 hours, and they got this amazing camp. If you watched them make this a crazy story, and when you go to start your game, you're in the first area. You got a ton of crap, but you're in the first area. That is insane to me. It's one of the things that holds me back from playing the game.
There were some griefing issues they had with it too, where people would invite people to come play in their games, help them get resources and all that, and then they would either disconnect from the game or boot the people. So that way you didn't get the resources and stuff that you helped the host get, but the host got all the resources and all that good stuff. So you basically just, free labor is what it was.
Bro, this is wrong. It's just wrong on so many levels.
Yeah.
Sea of Thieves also announced their new DLC pack coming out called Arena, which I found very interesting. So it's not as if the game didn't have PvP already, but instead what they've done is apparently the fans of the gamers wanted an actual PvP arena. And I gotta say, this will probably make a lot of people play the game. Like if you didn't play the game for the single player campaign experience, or let me not say campaign, but if you didn't play for the single player experience, people will definitely play for the multiplayer experience.
Cal, when I was watching the stream and I saw that happen, the first thought in my head was this will be a great way to introduce people to the game.
Yes,
it would have been months ago, but hey, now that it's coming, this will be a great way. Show them the action in Sea of Thieves immediately. Get them into the, oh snap, we're all going to die. We got to repair the ship. Oh no, is the Megalodon ramming us? There's a volcano. Like all that kind of frenetic action all at once. That's a good way to get players hooked into things.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that because when I saw it, I was like, man, well, maybe I got to go back to it because when I first jumped in, it was kind of a dull experience for me when I jumped into the single player. But watching that gameplay with the ships and the shooting going on and the sword, yeah, that'll definitely get me back into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll get a lot of people into it. But it's funny because it's like typical Microsoft. You know what I'm saying? It's like you put out this game and it's such a beautiful game and it's so dynamic. And a lot of people just don't know, like a lot of people outside of the hardcore guys at Xbox don't know about this game. And if you would have put this arena thing in it, it would have really held a lot of people down. It would have held you down for a minute because it would have allowed you to constantly play this multiplayer, level up, be on this grind, get certain things or whatever, loot gear, whatever you get from the multiplayer, if there's something in that whatsoever. And as the DLC starts to roll out, it would then allow you to go, hey, let's jump into the campaign not single player experience, but the campaign experience and play some of the actual game. Now that we've literally honed our skills in PvP, you know what I'm saying? So it's like a better late than never thing. It just seems like typical Microsoft. It's like everybody's like, why couldn't we get these studios in 2014? Why we had to get these studios in 2018? Hey, it's the same thing with Sea of Thieves. It's like, why we couldn't get this at the beginning of the game? Get it a couple months later. It is what it is.
I think with Wares, it's more so a first impression, last impression thing. I think when people think of Sea of Thieves, they always think of their first impressions of the game, like when it first rolled out, and then it had that much content. I think people still perceive it in that light, even though it has tons of DLC content that has came out. People still think it has that same gameplay experience that they experienced when they first played it. And that might not be the case in this case with what they just showed today. So I'm definitely going to dip back in and try it out.
Yeah, definitely. Sam, what about you? You've been playing it? You going to try it again?
I've been taking a bit of a break. I did play the update with the skeleton ships. I played that quite religiously. I really enjoyed that update. I kind of fallen off since due to all the big games, but I will absolutely hop in when arena mode comes back. Arena mode looks like it's going to be a good bit of fun. Good way to introduce newer players in. So I'll hop in when that drops.
Right. What about you, B? You gonna give it a chance?
I'll definitely give it a try. I want to see what this competitive multiplayer stuff is going to entail. You know what I mean? There has to be something that keeps me in there. You know what I mean? There has to be a driving force. So if there's like stuff that you can unlock or like, different, accessories and things like that, it'll probably give me a little bit more interest to check it out. It's all about, the incentive or the reward at the end of it. You know what I mean? So we'll see.
Right. No doubt. All right. So we're coming up to our last couple of segments, and then we'll talk about some of the predictions that we said on last week's show and who came close and who failed. Metro Exodus Spartan Collector's Edition has been revealed. I mean, they were taking so many things out of that box. I didn't know when they was going to stop. It was a lot of things coming out of that box.
Man, those European devs, they go all out.
What is this?
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff. I mean, there was cards and books, and I thought next was going to be bullets and guns. Like I didn't know what else was going to come out of there.
And to complete your Metro Exodus experience, it comes with a real AK-47, which we've
Right?
sandblasted to weather it.
Exactly. There was a lot of stuff in there, man. But that was I was impressed with that. Is that exclusive to Xbox?
No. So the it comes with the Metro 2033 Redux exclusively on Xbox. Like if you pre-order it on any version, that's not just the collectors. If you pre-order any version of the game on Xbox, you get that game thrown in as well.
I was just about to ask that.
Oh,
That
okay.
exclusive.
Yeah, I was like,
hold up.
Microsoft being dirty. Like they doing exclusive bundles. Like you getting, hey man, you better get this game on Xbox. You get a statue. Like what? This is insane. This is crazy. No, that's cool, man. Look, B said it a lot. Microsoft need to pick up 4A games. I don't know how many times he said it. I mean, Microsoft is picking up studios left and right. Why not? You know, it just seems like the perfect fit. If you look at what the what's his name? The guy from NPD.
Matt Piscatella.
Yeah. You look at the tweet that Matt Piscatella put out, and you looked at Microsoft's top 10 games this generation. Like, I'm not even joking. All 10 of them were shooting games.
Shooters, shooters all day.
Every single game.
Not just on Xbox either.
Yeah,
It's
no, it
across
wasn't.
the board.
That's true. Across the board, a good portion of them. But I think at least PlayStation had like Spider-Man in there, and it might have been one other game that wasn't a shooter. I don't know which one it was, but mostly every game was shooter. But for Xbox, bro, every game was a shooter. Halo, Destiny, like it was like 55 Call of Duties.
Activision's like, and that's why we've got 3 teams making Call of Duty like clock.
That's what I was saying. I made this a point, and y'all wonder why they keep talking about games as a service. Y'all can be hyped for these single player games all you want to. Go look at the top 10 games from the last generation, and every single last one of those games are service games. Every single one. And they make millions and millions. Activision has made like billions on DLC and microtransactions alone. That is insane. That's insane. So Microsoft 4A games would be a good pickup if they were able to ever get them. But Metro right now is on fire, man. Like the Metro series, they've come a long way. They come a long way. Because I remember like the first game was like $39.99. It was a PC game. And then they finally brought it over to platforms, I think on 360. And I was looking at that game like, nah, I'll pass.
The more people who realize Metro is fantastic, the better. Metro Exodus is one of my most anticipated games for next year.
Yo, all I knew was you was in the dark in the subway. And I don't do I don't do subways. So I was like, yo, this game was scary. I'm not playing it. Now, you guys already know who I am. I'm a scary cat when it comes to games like that. It's like,
They have
no,
a great engine too, because a lot of their games are very visually impressive. So their engine is great too.
yeah,
That's a good point. It holds a locked 60 FPS.
definitely. All right, so listen, man. Let's get to this big news. Now, I said last week the most important thing for me was studio announcements. And if you watch my reaction show, I had some gift-worthy faces when they first announced that first studio. I was really dumbfounded because I was like, what the who the hell is this studio in Exile? I've never heard the studio before. Like, that's how crazy it was. But In Exile makes the Wasteland games. As well as Ties of Tomorrow, which actually I have both those games, ironically, and I've never looked at who the developers were for them. So I was a bit impressed later on that they picked them up. Not in the aspect that because they're going to be some big AAA studio, I don't expect them to be that. I expect them to continue to produce these smaller, sort of like isometric Diablo style RPGs because that does well for the platform. And these are the type of games that will hit Game Pass and come out every year or every other year. And I think that's really smart of them to pick them up. But the big dog finally showed up, and I gave an ovation because I was excited that Obsidian has been picked up by Microsoft. This was a big deal to me. And not only that, it kind of brings to fruition some of the things I spoke about, or we all spoke about, but something that I brought up in particular was how PlayStation had the Japanese RPG on locked. regardless if it was exclusive or not. And I said Microsoft does so good with Western RPGs, and it just feels like they just got all these Western RPG studios now. This is insane to me. This is a big deal. What was your guys' thoughts or your reactions when they finally made these announcements?
I thought it was great. I mean, it diversifies the lineup for Microsoft. I mean, like you said, the top games on Microsoft have been shooters. I mean, we all love shooters and all that good stuff, but a really good RPG is an experience that you never truly forget. And if it's a really, really good RPG, it kind of changes your perspective on games in general. So I was really excited to see Microsoft acquiring these studios because they really did need an injection of solid RPG titles. So,
Right.
Yeah, I will say that's the thing. When you look at this, there were only, prior to this announcement, there were 3 studios really that were independent and still making classic RPGs. In Exile, Larian Studios, and Obsidian. With this move, Microsoft now has 2 of the 3. And combining that with Playground's second team, which is an RPG team, they now are looking to dominate, or at least do very well in the Western RPG scene come next gen. They are positioning themselves very strongly. They can have Playground's team on more action-oriented RPGs, Obsidian on more classic tactical RPGs, but still AAA, and then In Exile doing the smaller games like Wasteland 3. I believe the head there, the head of In Exile Entertainment, has said that they're still going ahead and they're going to make Wasteland 3. And they're going to continue supporting Bard's Tale 4 because that just came out. That's a good bit of variety in RPGs that they can cover.
Yep, and maybe we'll get lucky and Playground will make Fable 4 or one of those studios. So
I kind of had the feel. Who is this studio? Where did they come from? And then I had to do my research. And then when they announced Obsidian, I was like, oh, nice, dope. And I went and watched both of their announcement videos because they both did like Ninja Theory and put out announcement videos. And they both spoke along the same lines as Ninja Theory in terms of why they made their decisions to come to Microsoft, about resourcing and having financial backing, and about Microsoft allowing them to creative freedom to still do what they've been doing. And In Exile stated that they're still going to create RPGs, that they're not going to stop doing what they've been doing. So that's dope. And then you got Obsidian, which Cobrill stated in the clause of their contracts allows them to expand their studio beyond 200 people. So you're looking at about 2 teams at Obsidian that could be making multiple games. So this bodes well, not only for the future of Microsoft, but more importantly, Game Pass too, because I know a lot of these acquisitions have a big thing in terms of Game Pass.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I totally agree. You know, the first studio in Exile, I knew that they had been working on Wasteland. I was actually just taking a look at them for Wasteland 3. But Obsidian was definitely the big announcement of the day. You know what I mean? We know their pedigree. We know what they bring to the table. And I think it's something definitely that we have been talking about for a long time here, that, you know, Microsoft needed to go, you know, heavy with the RPGs. And this is definitely signaling, you know, that they were paying attention, and that they're definitely going to pursue that going forward. So it's going to be very interesting for Microsoft over the next 10 years, you know, as they expand on Game Pass, as they move into the xCloud, and really, you know, let these other game studios expand and show what they, you know, show what they're made of. So I'm looking forward to what Obsidian brings to the table. It seems like Ninja Theory and some of the other studios may have some stuff for us in 2019. So looking forward to that as well. I mean, the future is definitely looking more exciting than it has been the past 3 or 4 years for Microsoft. You know, we were definitely in a bad spot for a while. We didn't know where Microsoft was going or what their plans were, but they definitely have some sort of a roadmap for us now. We just have to see, you know, what these games are and when they'll start to hit for us.
Absolutely. I think cautiously, I would say that waiting until E3 isn't a toxic meme anymore because there's actually a lot of stuff to be excited for come E3 now. And if they continue doing XO, if they get back to Gamescom, the future looks really bright. The start of this year, I mean, we were in dire straits, honestly, as Xbox fans. Let's be real. It didn't exactly look great. But in the last 12 months, they've acquired or built from the ground up with Initiative 7 studios. 8 if you consider that Playground has 2. That's unheard of levels of growth. That doesn't happen in the industry. So I'm excited to see what the future holds.
Man, all I know is Phil need to cut that check. Because we've been up here talking about them getting studios for years, and Microsoft is now bringing in all these. We talked about what was one of the weak points they had. No RPGs. Where's the RPGs? Where's the Western RPGs? I don't know how many. I used to beg Phil for Knights of the Republic. Oh, get Star Wars. Do something. Just anything that was related to Mass Effect or Star Wars in any type of form, at least in that type of game, was something that I wanted because it really is. Like I had to come to this like sort of epiphany that somewhere along the way, Mass Effect had become my favorite franchise of all time. I don't know when it happened. I think it was in 7 Day. And they were doing like they were showing like highlights of Mass Effect the series, and they were playing that Mass Effect music, like that menu music or that when you're on the Normandy, and it was just running through my head. And I started thinking about all of the games that I played and realized, damn, I love Mass Effect. Like a lot of people didn't like Andromeda, but I really liked Andromeda. I really did, and I love BioWare. It's like one of my favorite studios. And I think about Knights of the Republic, Jade Empire, all the stuff that we play, all the stuff we always talk about. And I'm just sitting here saying to myself, man, Microsoft needs more Western RPGs. And I remember talking to these guys about it. Me and B would talk about it. Sam would talk about it. When Anchor was here, we would just talk about Sony just has this JRPG thing on lock where there's just certain games that developers from Japan will not put on Xbox because they know it will never see the light of day on anybody's screen. Like they just know. So they're not going to put it on there. And you miss out on a lot of games. Like there's no reason why Persona 5 shouldn't be on the Xbox, but it's not for a reason. And they don't feel like it's going to sell well on the Xbox platform. And it probably took Microsoft or a check or something twisted Square's arm to probably get Kingdom Hearts 3 on the platform, let alone all the Final Fantasies that's like decades old at this point. So it's just one of those things where I'm like, Microsoft does so well with the Fallouts, with the Elder Scrolls, with the Diablos, with the Knights of the Old Republics and the Mass Effects. Like they do so well with all of these Western RPGs. And because they're a Westernized studio with all these UK developers and these US developers, they should really concentrate on Western RPGs and lock up some of these RPGs that PlayStation just can't get. And today, along with some of the stuff that they got earlier, I'm just looking at Microsoft lineup in a completely different view. And it's just insane.
The original Xbox was not a shooter box, if we're being honest.
It wasn't.
Halo took off and went like wildfire, but the original Xbox, at the end of the day, was founded on weird, eclectic Japanese games, and more importantly, RPGs. And I think Phil he's had to move the universe in half. He's had to drag executives kicking and screaming, most likely, in order to make it happen. But it looks like Phil not only understands that, he's been making moves to get us back to that point. And that alone is a very good reason to be excited.
And in terms of Persona 5, I don't know if this is factual, but this is something I have to look into. I think someone said the developer got burnt by Donnie D. I don't think if it was I think it was last generation or something. And he said they'll never, put one of his games on Xbox.
I think that was I think that was the Tales guys.
Yeah, I don't know how factual that is. That's why I said I had to look at it. But I've heard that Donnie D had a fallout with Microsoft. I don't know if it was beginning of this generation or last generation that prevented them, that they won't put their games on Xbox anymore. But I don't know how factual that is. I have to look into it though.
Yeah, I haven't heard that. I did hear a while ago that I think who makes the Tales series? Bandai Namco?
Yes.
Yes.
I remember at some point when Tales of Vesperia came out, they were like, it did so bad they were refused to put another Tales game on Xbox. No, it's the truth. That's what they was like. Like they'll never put another Tales game on Xbox, and that's why we've never seen another Tales game in Xbox. And they're just now putting the definitive edition coming out this holiday season, by the way, which was huge in itself, even though it was multi-plat. Seeing a Tales game come back to Xbox, even if it is the one that Microsoft published back in the day, seeing it is pretty cool in itself. So that's dope. But I think at the end of the day, Microsoft, when you look at what they've produced and what they're producing, they really got their ducks in a row. You're talking about 3 major AAA flagship studios in the coalition, 343 and Turn 10. You might as well throw Playground Games in there now, because with the Forza series, that is absolutely a flagship. And they're probably working on Fable, which should be huge. Did you see the DLC that they showed today in that island and how crazy that looked graphically? I was so impressed. I was drooling for a Fable game for them to make an open world Fable game. Oh my God, they are geniuses. They are like gods at this point. They are developer gods at this point with what they're doing with some of these worlds.
Playground knows what they're doing. Playground absolutely knows what they're doing.
On the flip side of that, you got Composure Games, you got the NXL guys, you got Undead Labs. Look at those studios, and those are your AA guys. Those are the guys that's going to come out and produce these sort of like mid-tier games that you can get every 2 years, and you can rotate those things out. And the great thing about Ninja Theory is this is what you want with your third-person action games. These are the guys that you want. The initiative is just going on some whole other level, what they're trying to do with the initiative. But whatever it is they're going to produce, it's going to be a megaton. We're talking about millions, hundreds of millions of dollars they're trying to invest in this studio, and whatever they're developing, whatever they're coming out with is going to be along the lines of the next Halo. This is what they want this game to be. I don't know what it is, but when it comes out, we're definitely going to look forward to it. But then you add Obsidian in there with their pedigree and what they could do as a AAA studio now, trying to get 200 people in that studio. You know that they're both going to be making some big AAA game and still continue their little CRPGs that they put on PC. Microsoft is looking sweet going into the next gen.
What I like is that a lot of these studios is working on multiple projects, something that we've been wanting Microsoft Studios to do for a while. I know Rare said to be working on multiple projects. Ninja Theory, Obsidian is working on multiple projects right now. So that's a lot of content. You know, you got a chance to really stretch out your big titles in terms of Halo and Gears and things like that, where we don't have to get them back to back. Right, like we have been getting.
Right, I agree 100%. I'm very impressed with their studio lineup. Phil already came out and talked about all he trying to produce is powerful hardware. That's all I ever wanted from Microsoft. I don't want to hear this thing about, we want to make the entertainment box. I don't want to hear you got too much money and too many people investing in Xbox to be coming out with some janky hardware again. This got spanked bad. It took the spanking for you to come out with the X, and people love it. Regardless of what people may say about the Xbox overall, people are out there buying X's for the Red Dead Redemption. That says a lot. So you come out with how many studios they got now? 17? 13? I don't know how many studios they got.
13 studios. Which coincidentally, I do not play console war tit for tat numbers, but that is actually the same number Sony has. Just a fun fact.
That's not including the new studio that Playground is developing that they just got over in I can't remember where it was at, but they just opened up some building for their second team. And 13 studios, they're trying to produce the most powerful hardware. I know it's sad to sit there and talk about what to look forward to in the next generation, because this generation hasn't ended. We still probably have about 2 years left in this generation. But man, going into next gen, you just gotta know I gotta get an X. I got to get an Xbox next generation, because the pedigree and the stuff that they've put or that they purchased and that they're going to be building and developing going forward is bright. It's brighter than anybody that I can think of at this point. You know what I'm saying? So kudos to Microsoft for putting on a semi-okay show, but ending it off with a bang and, really, really coming on strong at the end of the generation.
I just want to say RIP 1.3.
Yeah, I hear that. So listen, man, let's talk about our predictions last week. First of all, Sam's gonna try to pin Banjo on me. I want to get that out the way real quick. I ain't say nothing about Banjo. Sam trying to hit me talking about he got receipts. I don't remember talking about no Banjo like that.
You said it could happen, bro. You
I
said
did
it could
say it
happen.
could happen. B was talking about Banjo 25th anniversary.
Hey man, it was a great idea. They should have did.
See, he owns up to it. Thank you, B.
Yeah, I'm still standing by that, man. They should have did it.
He's
Oh, they
not
should
the
have.
only one though. There was a lot of predictions on Twitter that had Banjo in there.
Yeah,
They should have.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they shouldn't have. Like, they should have, no question.
For me, all I wanted was Obsidian, and I think my prediction turned out. I try to stay level-headed. I felt like it was a bit white gloves. Once Major Nelson came out with that Black Friday ad, bro, I almost turned the whole stream off, bro.
Dude, I was rolling laughing. Now, that was funny. That was funny. Like, he was embracing the meme. Come on. I thought that was funny.
You ever watch a show and feel embarrassed? That was how I felt. Like I
couldn't be embarrassed. I was laughing too hard.
I was watching this show and I felt like I worked for Microsoft and I was embarrassed we put this product out. Like I felt embarrassed. Like I gotta go on the podcast tonight and talk about this commercial that they did. This was embarrassing to me. But you know, whatever. It's all fun and games, I guess. At the end of the day, though, that was cringy. That was white gloves for me. I was like, oh my god, they almost got through the whole show without the white glove movement, and they just couldn't resist. It's just typical Microsoft. They could not resist the white glove movement. But Asher didn't show up.
That was a big eyebrow raiser for me. I'm not sure what's going on there. Like it needed to show up.
And I don't understand them announcing the winner of arcade and not even teasing any of the stuff that's supposed to be in there. I know they want to have stuff for the Game Awards, but like this is your event.
Exactly. Like you can give a little more. You can say more than just the one sentence, like at least 3 more sentences explaining. You could even say when you'll be talking about it more, and that would have been good. But I don't know. Here's hoping winner of arcade is pretty good. I mean, the fact that they're bringing that back is a big deal. I will say that.
I hope it keeps the same structure. You know what I mean? It's like when you buy, you know, a game or buy multiple games, you get a discount on like the next game or like the collection of the games if you buy all 4 of them. So hope that portion of the Summer of Arcade moves over to the winner of arcade. Because I think you know, that was something that was pretty cool. And I also think this helps boost you know, their lineup for 2019 because we don't really know too much. So maybe that's the reason why they kind of keep it close to the vest.
Right.
And I'm changing Tick Podcast moniker from Tick Podcast, Premier Podcast for Xbox, to Tick Podcast, the Ghost Riders for Xbox. Because we brought up Summer of Arcade and he rejected it. And now they got Winter of Arcade. Why can't we get any credit for this stuff? This is bogus.
Oh man.
Yo, we brought this up. We had Chris Charlotte on the show. We was like, man, we gonna bring back some of Arcade. You need to have this indie section. He was like, nah, we're gonna do some things differently. And it was like Summer Spotlight. You're like, what? That's lame. Like, we're just bring back some of Arcade. And they did something else. Now you're talking about we're gonna go back and do a throwback, but this time we're gonna do Winter Arcade. I was like, oh, come on, man.
That's your whole move.
Oh, I'm telling you, man. Microsoft be listening to Tick Podcasts on the low. They just don't want to tweet us out. They don't want to vouch for us, bro. Stealing all of our ideas. Anyway, no, that was cool though. But listen, Asher didn't show up, which was disappointing. Obviously, they didn't talk about what they was going to present. And Below is basically below the earth at this point because we have not seen this game for about 5 years. I am so serious. It's not even funny. This is like the Metal Gear 4 of indie games. It is taking way too long for this game to come out. I feel like this game is not even real. At this point, it's not real. The game does not exist. Like, where is this game? We haven't seen it. We haven't heard from it. I don't know where this game is. And the game is not even like graphically impressive. It's just a bunch of small little sprites running around on the screen, other than the roguelite with the dungeons changing all the time. It can't be that hard to make this game. We have not seen this game, and it has not shown up. Tunic showed up, which was dope. Saber showed up, which looks incredible. Looked like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon, which is amazing. But no Below. What is going on with these games?
I've got no idea.
I can't even tell you. It seems like they talk about Below every show, but it never show. And I know Ash. I thought Ashton was going to be there. I also thought Ninja Theory was going to be there, but maybe they show up at the Games Award with Bleeding Edge. But everybody was trying to see where Ashton was, and I didn't forget about Below so much that just fell off my radar.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I was so hyped for Below. We talked about Below. It's like every year we talk about Below. Man, I can't wait. Below might come out this year. Now we put in Mike. we like might come out this year. Now we just like we won't even talk about Below. Like we don't know what's coming out next year. We won't even talk about it no more. That's disappointing in itself. Yeah, so it's definitely was an okay show. Yeah, the last night is another game that we were all hype on and we didn't see. And that was presented when last E3, right? Was it 2017?
That was E3 2017. Yeah.
Yeah, we were all hyped up on that. We haven't heard anything from those guys. I've been trying to get those guys on the show. I don't even care if they speak a different language. I'll figure it out. I just want them on the show, man. I'm hyped. I want to talk to those guys. I love that game. But we'll see how it all pans out. At the end of the day, I think Microsoft's show, 2 hours wasn't needed. There was a lot of talking. I was dozing off. I was contemplating getting coffee. And we really didn't need a 2-hour show for everything that was done on that particular event for XO18. But they did save themselves with the studio purchases and some of the stuff that they showed with Devil May Cry, some third-party stuff, and of course the Final Fantasy stuff was big as well. And then some of the games on Game Pass. Otherwise, a lot of the other stuff, like Phil being there, pointless. Love Phil.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys, like, would you much rather prefer this be like a 30 to 45-minute show of XO just being a separate it's a separate own thing, and then have XO, or not XO, but
Inside
Xbox be like its own entity, similar to like how like when Nintendo does like their event and then they'll do like a treehouse event. It would basically be set up the same way, where like you have the major event and then let Inside Xbox be where you talk to the developers, and if people are interested in that, they have the opportunity to go in there and watch that.
I do. I think that, and I say that as someone who actually is a fan of Inside Xbox, but they need to separate the branding. XO needs to be its thing, and then Inside Xbox can even be going on within the same couple of days, because this is a couple of day event with FanFest and all that, but have it on a separate day. Have Inside Xbox the very next day. Have the interviews there, the developer stuff, talk to in depth about Devil May Cry 5's combat, and have XO just be like a 45-minute to hour-long show of Matt Booty and Phil talking about games coming to Game Pass or the studio acquisitions or stuff. Yeah, I would agree with that.
I agree as well. I think Inside Xbox should just be a summary of the big show XO18, because like I said earlier, first impression, last impression. Now people are gonna, when you think of XO18, they're gonna immediately think of Inside Xbox, and some people like Inside Xbox. Some people don't. You know what I'm saying? So I think it should be two separate events. I thought when he first announced it that it was going to be like a PSX type of thing, but when they said Inside Xbox, I was like, not this again. But hopefully they'll kind of separate the two, because they two need to be their own brand.
Yeah, definitely. I listen. I tried to give Xbox Inside Xbox's credit. I always tell people all the time, the show that you want, that ain't it. Don't go to that show looking for exclusive announcements. I get what they said. That ain't. Microsoft said a lot of things. Like if you don't know Microsoft by now, this whole generation, they say a lot. Microsoft is like the dad that say he's coming to pick you up, but he don't show up. You know what I'm saying? That's what Microsoft is like a little bit. But when he does show up, he does something spectacular, like take you to Six Flags or something crazy. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it's like. It's like you can't get hyped for everything that Microsoft put out, but when they do show up, they show up big, and that's great. So I feel like at the end of the day, they just need to continue to focus on what they're doing. Try not to hype things so much. Try not to go overboard with the hype. I get they were trying to hype up XO18 like it was this big thing. It's really just a fan show, just like they normally do with FanFest. And that's really what it was, except they just had the Inside Xbox team there and they wanted to announce a few things. But really, a lot of the stuff wasn't necessary. They could have just, did this thing on regular inside Xbox, and everybody would have been happy and maybe held off on a few announcements here and there. But if they do XO19 or they continue to do XOs, I'll be happy. But they just gotta tighten the show up and put more big announcements on there. Maybe even if you don't want to announce something at E3, maybe hold it. You know what I'm saying? To XO, 1 or 2 big announcements would be huge. The Obsidian pickup was a big announcement. I feel like they needed one more big announcement, and that would have been huge. The Kingdom Hearts thing, if that would have been announced, that would have been huge, but they didn't. So, that's how it is. So that's it, man. That's it for tonight's show. I want to thank everybody for stopping out. We had a great panel tonight. 60 people watching. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and support the channel. If you like Xbox news, Xbox rumors, Xbox content, you can come on over to the show and hang out with Tick Podcast. We're one of the few channels that really try to focus on gaming news, gaming content with Xbox, and sort of stay out the crumb side just a bit. If you love the guests that we have on, make sure you leave a comment in the comment section. We are bringing in new team members going into 2019 for a new revamped Tick Podcast. Fresh voices, new faces. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to announce the new team. Do you guys want to do a Q&A or should we shut it down? It's 12:07 a.m. my time. I know it's like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock on the West Coast and 10 o'clock Central, but it's like 12 a.m. my time. I don't know. If you guys have any questions, go ahead, leave them in the chat. We're going to go ahead and end this for the MP3 crowd. If you want to find the show, you can catch us on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Music. All our episodes are on there, including all our interviews with everybody we've had on the show, from Chris Charler to Phil Spencer to Jeff Keighley, and so on and so forth. We have some excellent shows with a lot of awesome Xbox developers and executives in general. So check it out when you get a chance. And that's going to be it. So I'm your host, Kara XKL, the last son of Planet Xbox with B Money 101, Direwolf 484, Post Up BB, and my man Will. And we are out of here and off this planet. You guys have a great night. Peace. All right. Listen, I want to thank everybody for stopping out, man. I truly appreciate the support. Everybody who came through tonight, man. Great crowd, great support. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope you guys were excited for what Microsoft has to bring and coming up in the future. I know we all are. I'm going to answer a few questions. It won't be too long. But I definitely want to answer a few questions since we have such a great crowd with us tonight. Andrew Wilkins, shout out to Andrew Wilkins, who has come through and checked us out, even though he's a big PlayStation guy and craps on Xbox every show. Some weird reason he comes here and he supports Tick Podcast, and for that I am grateful. He said, "What happened to Fable 4? And why are Xbox fans constantly wrong with gaming predictions?" I think everybody's wrong with gaming predictions. Don't try to single out Xbox fans, fam. Like everybody's wrong with gaming predictions. Fable 4, I thought that Phil would have something on it because at E3 he did say we'll talk about more about that later. But I guess later is E3 2019. So I mean, it is what it is at this point. You know what I'm saying? What can you do? I don't know about the predictions thing. I think everybody tries to make predictions. A prediction is just a guess, honestly, at the end of the day. You know, it's just how extreme do you go? How far do you go to where it just sounds insane?
So let me ask you guys this.
Mm-hmm.
So since we didn't see anything from first party, like anything new from first party with XO18,
Right.
how much new first party content do we see at next E3? Because this past E3, we saw a lot of third party content. You know what I mean? A big push with the third party stuff. So going into the next E3, how much first party content do you guys expect to see at E3?
I expect to see a good bit, to say the least. Ninja Theory, Playground Second Team, probably some Halo from 343, definitely some Gears 5. There should be a good bit. Absolutely.
This should at least be some trailers.
I was say, yeah, there's going to be some trailers and all that, but I think all of the acquisitions we've been seeing is strictly for next gen. I mean, realistically, we got our tails handed to us sales-wise and all that this go around. We're gearing up to come out swinging next gen, and I think the studios we have acquired are going to do that. I mean, Knights of the Old Republic 3 alone, as like a launch title for Scarlet or whatever they're going to call it, would be amazing. I mean, that alone would just sell Xboxes like hotcakes.
If I was Microsoft, I would definitely talk with Disney about trying to secure some sort of license with the Star Wars franchise. I know EA has been given the rights to that, but and we spoke with oh my god, Drew Karpshin, who is the writer of the Knights of the Old Republic game, as well as some of the Knights of the Old Republic stories, novels, and he said that Disney calls the Knights of the Old Republic series and some of those books legends, and don't truly count them as a part of the new lore, but also don't discount them as not being a part of the story. It's kind of wishy-washy. I feel like if Microsoft was able to talk with Disney, maybe cut a few checks here and there, soften them up, maybe they might be able to get the deal for a new Knights of the Old Republic. That would be amazing if they were able to do that. Knights of the Old Republic 3 done by Obsidian.
Yeah.
I mean, no better time, honestly. But I doubt it. But it would be amazing if they did that.
No, yeah, I mean, I doubt it too, but it's one of those little pipe dreams I have. And Disney would probably be willing to go for it since they seem to be milking Star Wars for everything that it's worth. So, I mean, if they see it as a lucrative enough adventure, they'd probably go for it, hands down. But
when did EA sign the deal with Marvel for the Star Wars?
About to be over.
Give me 1 second.
I think that's coming to an end, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a 10-year deal.
It was a 10-year deal, so I'm trying to find when it was. Okay, I want to say it was 2014, and if not, it was definitely 2013. It was one of the two.
Yeah, it was. So
crazy. It's ending in 2023 or 2024.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you this: there's no way Disney is happy with the way EA has handled that license.
Seriously,
there's no way. They have done a horrible job.
Yeah, they definitely have. We got to see what Respawn does with it.
Right. Exactly. I was about to say what happened to Respawn in their game. So
yeah. Chief Tommy asks, "Will any of you be playing The Sims in first person?" What? No.
I don't even play The Sims.
I don't play The Sims. Yeah, no, I don't play The Sims. The Geeky Nerd says, "Should Xbox acquire some licenses? Even Telltale was able to get DC, Image, Marvel, and others."
I think that I'm not opposed to them going after that per se, but here's the thing. I know why everyone's in their feelings about this. It's because Marvel's Spider-Man came out and it's a fantastic game and it's selling like hotcakes. But the reality is that doing a deal like that is an incredibly complicated thing, and it's very difficult to get everything right to the point where it works out and it's a success. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I think they should pursue things like a new Star Wars game, a partnership there once the deal with EA ends. But I would prefer them branch out and evolve the IPs they currently own, or go into new worlds with new IPs that they come up with.
I'm all for new worlds.
Yeah, I'm all for the new IP.
But I will lose my mind if they show up with a Halo RPG. I will lose it.
I will hope it's happening. I
would only give a license to Obsidian. Mm-hmm. Like if you're gonna go out and try to secure a license, I would only give it to Obsidian. So I would let them make some sort of RPG project with some major license. I think they would do justice.
I would get the license for Spawn and give it to the Ninja Theory team.
Yeah,
that's what I would do.
I don't think people really understand the impact of Obsidian being under Microsoft with those resources and not have to deal with time constraints. For them to be able to have the resources and the finances to really, sit and do what they want to do and not really be boggled down with time constraints or hitting kind of crazy deadlines. Oh man, you can just imagine what they're going to come up with.
Yeah.
Sam, do you think Obsidian goes back to the game they're working on initially with Microsoft?
Stormlands?
Stormlands. That you know what, man, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think too much is up in the air. Honestly, I'm not sure, because you got to keep in mind they also had, and word is, I've heard from people that this is why the Obsidian deal took so long to finalize. They also had that sci-fi game that they were working on with Take-Two, and something had to be worked out there. I think once we find out the status of that game, whether Microsoft bought it off and that's going to be their next big exclusive, or whether Obsidian's going to finish that up and then they focus on Microsoft, then we'll have a better idea of what they're doing.
And given the scale that game was going to be on, if you look at what they're doing with Cloud Tech and Azure, it might be possible now, more so possible now than it was back then when they was first trying to do it. So it could be dope.
We'll definitely have to see and wait. Definitely excited for what they're going to produce. File Davikin asks, no Banjo-Kazooie 3 though, which confuses me. Was it just a joke even though they asked him and he said that he's been hinting at it for years? Is it not ready yet or was it just a joke?
Man, no one knows.
No, that's the best question. That's the best answer right there.
Yeah, we definitely don't know. The A-Bomb says, anybody else think Kingdom Hearts 3 part of the show was cringeworthy? Too much translation. Poor Mexicans. Translated from Japanese to English, then to Spanish.
I think that part of the show was just, it went too long.
Like,
Same way I felt about Minecraft. Both of them segments went like too long for me.
Yeah, it felt kind of shoehorned. So
the funny part to me was when he was pushing, like when he was shushing the crowd, like you need to listen, as if he was going to speak in Spanish. Then he started speaking Japanese.
man, he's Shinji Mashimoto. He can get away with that.
Bro,
that's very
true. Down everything he was saying, translated into English, and then they had to look at a board to the left to see the captions in Spanish. That was insane, bro. That was
all about taking selfies with the
here's what I'll say. I understand it didn't work out perfectly, but the hype of having that dude there, given who he is, and him coming to an Xbox event in Mexico, that's a culturally significant thing. So I'm gonna give them a pass on that, honestly.
I would have liked to see them put that 13 series in Game Pass. Yeah,
that would have been nice too. That would have been like the perfect note, because it coming to backpack compat was cool. Then it coming to be X enhanced was awesome. But that would have been the crown jewel there. But hey, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yeah, no doubt. Do we have any other questions? TF God asks, Respawn Star Wars game is going to be amazing. So once the good reviews for that hit, EA is going to have the Star Wars license for a while. I guess because it's being done by Respawn and he loves Titanfall. Yeah, Titanfall 2 was dope. That campaign was amazing. I'm not even going to lie.
Respawn might be, next to DICE, Respawn might be EA's most talented studio that they have right now.
Yeah. Titanfall was good. Titanfall 2 was fantastic. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I certainly hope it works out well, because I'm sorry, I'm not going to get over EA killing Visceral anytime soon. Visceral was one of my favorite devs last gen, and I'm still mad about that. So,
TF God says, Brandon, a Fast and Furious game by Playground or Turned In. Come on, Obsidian ain't the only one that could do a license. 343 is also super talented.
I mean, they did a Fast and Furious series already.
They did one for Forza Horizon 2, right?
Yeah, they did.
And it was good.
I want them to go to Japan. Give me a street racer on Japan, neon lights, bright city at late night. I want that. Give me that. You know what I mean? That's the dream that I've been waiting for the Horizon. So
that'll look crazy on next gen hardware.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Man.
I think they're taking a break after this game, right? They're
at minimum, there's Forza's not coming out next year, so everyone's getting at least a 1-year break. Maybe that's permanent moving forward, and it's a 3-year cycle from here on out. I think that's the correct approach, but we'll see. There's definitely no Forza game next year, though.
So hopefully the next Horizon game, we actually change up the scenery a bit, go to Japan, and give me that street racer I've been asking for.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah.
Definitely. So that's it, man. I want to thank everybody once again for stopping out and coming out to support the Inner Circle Network and Tick Podcast. Make sure you tune in on Wednesdays to check out Fame and the 2XP crew. Those guys cover all the multi-plat content that you're looking for, whether it's Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, other things, movies, entertainment. They cover all that good stuff. And please go ahead and support Tick Games Network, TIC Games with an S network.com. That is our home website. You can also still type in TICGN.com. We have that linked up to the site as well for simplistic reasons if you guys still search the old site. And go support, man. This is where we put all our content and news, because you guys go ahead and check out our content. That gives us the opportunity to go to these events like E3 and go to PAX and all these things that we try to bring information to you on the latest games and news and rumors and all that good stuff. So make sure you guys check us out there as well. Sam, what's going on with Game Perspective?
Not too much right now. We've got some big Red Dead Redemption 2 content and Hitman 2 content coming up. Nick is doing an unboxing of the collector's edition. We've got some other stuff, some tips and tricks, pieces and walkthroughs coming there. So please be excited for all that stuff.
B, what you got coming up?
Oh, not much, man. Just continue to grind a little bit. We'll be, on the Brat Podcast every Wednesday night, so definitely come through and check that out. Great group of guys over there. We're planning on doing some things over there as well, so definitely stay tuned and look forward to everything we got going on here as well.
Yeah, make sure you guys go out and support Gaming Perspective, and make sure you go out and support Brat. Those are our sister shows, a part of the TIC affiliate program. These guys put out some great content. If you're looking for some awesome, real talk, real gaming content, those are some awesome shows to go check out. Post Up, what you got going on, bro?
Nothing, just chilling. On Tuesday, I do the multiplayer podcast. On Thursday, I do Xbox Beastfire. So with the guys that I'll be rocking with. So other than that, man, working, taking care of the family, man.
I hear you. Jay, what you got going on? Anything popping for you?
Nah, not really, dude. I got Fallout 76 Collector's Edition coming my way on Wednesday, and that's pretty much about it, dude. That and taking care of the family and working.
Awesome. So listen, man, you guys can check us out next week, Saturday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is when the show will launch. If you don't catch the show live on YouTube and you just want to hear the audio version, which is really a shortened version, we don't add any of the Q&A. We actually just put the actual show itself up. You can catch that show on iTunes, Google Music, or Spotify, or listen to it on the Xbox through any podcast app, or check us out on Podbean. And make sure you subscribe and give us a rating, man. Like, we put a lot of content out there. We get no ratings from people. You know what I'm saying? So if you're listening to us on iTunes, please go and give us a rating, a comment, 4 stars, 5 stars, however you feel about the content. Go ahead and give us a rating. That'll help us move up on that podcast scene and get us in the top 10, man. We know we get a lot of support from you guys out there who listen to the show, and we thank you for all of that. So that's going to be it for tonight's show. I'm your host, K.O.R. S. Khalil, with B Money 101. I'm about to say Anchorman V. That's a bad habit. Diary with 484, William Jarrett, and of course my man Post Up BB. And we will see you guys next week. You guys have a great night. Peace, and we're off this planet.